What's up everyone, how are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Naruto story. What if Naruto was the weakest in his family, but awakened the first flame style? If you enjoy, then please like, share and do comments. And also check the description box to original creator of this beautiful creation. Blood, there was blood everywhere. How could he? How? Itachi. Came the yell, the cry of pain heard in the hearts of people all over the city. As Uchiha Sasuke sat there on his knees, his arms propping him up, on the outer edge of the Uchiha district, the former Uchiha district, he kept thinking of what he saw and what he was forced to see. The brother you wanted to spend time with has done this. Ni-san, why? To ascertain your capacity. Sob, hiccup, how could you? I continued acting as the elder brother you desired, and became your companion to see if that potential lies hidden. You found me disagreeable and hated me. I never hated you. I could never have hated you. Then came the whisper, trying to talk to the past. You continued wanting to surpass me. Because of that I will let you live. I didn't want to surpass you, and then, sitting up tall and yelling to the gods and heavens that might have been, I wanted to be recognized by you. I wanted to have you as my brother. For my sake. Falling back to the earth he started to sob and hiccup once more, falling into sleep once more, for your sake, to forget your guilt, and he knew no more. It was 10 days later that he managed to return to the academy. It was 10 days later that changed so many lives, for the better or worse I wonder. In front of him he could hear Shikamaru and Choji talking about food, what candy Choji wanted. Behind him he could tell someone was talking about him. His family. No, I shouldn't be here, learning all these useless things. I should be out training. Why should I train? What am I trying to do? Why am I even still alive? Then a voice filtered into his mind like an echo. If you want to kill me, hate me, curse me, cling to your pitiful life, hate. Are you listening, Uchiha? What are you doing? Class hasn't even started yet? This is so troublesome. Ah, Shikamaru, stop, said the big-boned Choji as he ate his chips. Munch. Let him be as gulp, as emo as he wants to be. I need another bag. Sasuke didn't know why he did what happened next. Maybe it was just how soon it was since he lost his family. Maybe it was a side effect of the Mangekyo Sharingan Itachi had used on him. Or maybe it was the fact that he knew he needed to be strong, and to do that he would have to be the alpha male, the top dog, and make his superiority known. But really, who knows? Turning to the Akamichi, as he looked through his backpack for another bag of chips, Sasuke let out a growl. What do you know, fat ass? This earned an immediate glare from Choji and a nearly unheard, troublesome idiot, from Shikamaru. Did your whole worthless clan get butchered like the pigs that they are? And he sent his left fist into the larger boy's gut, because when they are. Now he brought his right around and landed a blow to the boy's face, and you are the last pig standing, as he put his arms on the boy's shoulders and brought him into a knee slam. Then maybe you will understand a fraction of what I do now. As Shikamaru tried to run in and stop the boy, Sasuke turned around and grabbed him by the shirt and slammed him into the adjacent wall, giving a good right to the boy's gut and a left to the head straight on, slamming the pineapple-haired head into the wall and the boy out cold. I'm not being emo, as he tuned back to Choji, who was struggling to stand up, leaning on a desk. I'm becoming the avenger that I need to be. A pig like you wouldn't understand a thing like that. I will become strong and I will kill brother, and anyone else who gets in my way. And with that he gave one last punch to the hefty boy, the sound of cartilage breaking under his fist. After that he turned around and started walking to the door, the small crowd that gathered for the brawl moving out of the way for him. When he got to the door it slid open in pink-haired devil's point of view. Oh, I can't wait to tell Ino, today's the day I let them know that I'm in love with Sasuke-kun. Haruno Sakura knew she was in love. She was going to let Ino and the others know too. What wasn't to like about Sasuke? He had the best grades in the class, he was from a prestigious family, though they were all dead, and he was cute, more like fucking hot. Yes, Sakura was in love, she would do anything for the pretty Uchiha boy. As she was nearing the school she saw Ino waiting out front for her while talking to a couple of other girls. Seeing the pink-haired girl she yelled over, Sakura-chan, come on over. Mahiko-chan was just telling me about her cousin Hayate who was made into a special Junin recently. Letting off a big smile she looked at the taller girl. That's great, do you think you'll get him to teach you some ninja stuff? The taller girl, Mahiko, sighed. I hope so, I don't know how much of this stupid little academy I can handle. If he teaches me, then I'll be out of here in no time. Ino's dad won't let her out so fast, but maybe your parents can teach you and get out of here with me. Sakura blushed a little. My father wasn't a shinobi and my mother hasn't fought for the 8 years my parents have been married. I doubt she even remembers the basics from the academy? Oh, said the girl curtly before leaving. They wouldn't hear about it at all, but the girl did get out of the academy early. A year after that she was captured by missing nin. A year after that she was killed when Konoha hunter nins stormed their camp. The hunter nins killed her out of mercy, having been beaten, tortured, raped and defiled in 1,000 different ways. Her mind was gone. Only a shell of what she was. Her cousin never used the sword he used to end her life again, instead keeping it as a reminder that he had failed Konoha, himself, and his family. Sakura, said an exasperated Ino as they walked into the classroom. Here's your next lesson. Never admit that your parents are non-shinobi, even though your mother was one a lifetime ago. In Konoha and other countries it will make you seem like nothing more than a civilian, even if you're a ninja. Sakura just gave a little blush in return. Sorry Ino-chan. HHAAA, what are we going to do with you Sakura-chan? Just don't apologize next time I correct you like that, it'll ruin your self-esteem. Nodding her head, yes Ino-chan, I'm sore. Sakura, yelled Ino as she cut the other girl off. They looked at each other for a second before they started to giggle. Come on Sakura-chan, we have to make it to class, that new assistant teacher starts today. What was his name? It was Iruka, Ino-chan. He just made Chunin at the last exam too. Oh and Ino, I need to talk to you after classes today, okay? Yeah gotcha, you and you smart little forehead need to talk to little Omi. As they neared the class they could hear someone yelling and the sound of a fight. Sakura, you hear that? Said Ino as she ran a little farther ahead to the classroom door. Who? Was Sakura's smart reply as she walked up behind Ino. Sounds like someone is fighting in there. Giving her pink-haired friend a devious look Ino said to her, well let's go watch the slaughter fest. And with that she threw open the door and they were face to face with Uchiha Sasuke. The Uchiha Sasuke, the prodigy himself. This is your first chance to show him you care Sakura, don't miss this chance, and at the same time both her and Ino yell out to the boy, Sasuke-kun. They both looked at each other with questioning eyes, before turning back to the Uchiha, only to be cut off before they can get any more out of their mouths. What do you think you two are doing? Said the Uchiha, suddenly having his anger turn on the two girls. If you have time to be gawking at me then you should be out doing something productive, like training. You women need to train twice as much as any man needs to. Now move, the strong have no time for weakling like you two. When neither of them gave any sign of moving he moved in to attack them like he had Choji, only to have his arm held by a portly Chunin with a goatee and a bandana around his head that sported his forehead plate. Sasuke. What do you think you are doing? He asked, seeing a knocked out Nara and a bleeding Akamichi. What did you do here? He asked, more than a little angry at the boy's actions, and the fact that he wasn't there to stop it. Damn, this could cost me my job Uchiha. Let go of me, I'm done with this stupid little academy. I'm going to do some serious training and leave this stuff to the babies. He tried to pull away, but when the man would not give an inch he tried to attack, only to receive a quick chop to the back of his neck and nothingness after that. Sakura, Ino, and surprisingly a pale-eyed girl were shocked by what he did and said, something would be happening, and soon. They say that a butterfly flapping its wings can cause a sandstorm on the other side of the world. Well, Sasuke didn't know it at the time, but he had just flapped his wings, and they were much bigger than any butterfly wings I have ever seen. All around Konoha things were happening. Omniscient. 15 minutes after the incident occurred Akamichi Choza, Nara Shikaku, and Yamanaka Inoichi, all of whom were enjoying lunch when they got the news, were picking up the former two's children. The boys in question were in bad shape. Choji had a broken nose, wrapped in a strange-looking cast, while Shikamaru had his head wrapped up, most of his hair having been cut off to treat the wound. Both of them suffered from wounded prides. As the children walked a little farther ahead, not even speaking to each other, the three fathers stayed back so they could talk unheard. Though one would think the booming voice of the usually calm Choza would have carried across the whole village. Who does that Gaki think he is, attacking our children like that? He said with clenched fists. Calm down Choza, we just need to think this through a little, that's all. was Inoichi's response. The boy just had a major loss. His entire family is gone, his entire clan. I don't care. Assault is assault. You know what, that boy wasn't even supposed to be back yet. The Saindem wanted to wait a week longer to try and talk to they boy some more. But the damn elders and the council. He was cut off by Shikaku. You mean the council that I am a member of? He said nonchalantly. It wasn't the members of the council, well, all of us. Your father, Choza, as well as old man Yamanaka. This earned a grinning glare from the blonde in the group, and myself all agreed that the boy needed time. Heck, we even had the support of Hiashi and Morino clans were on our side. That's two of the noble clans, each with 2 votes, 2 clans which have experts in the art of the mind in them, each of which got a vote, and the Nara, bringing the vote up to 7 for us, but we were simply overruled. Gekko, Inuzuka, Mitarashi, Shiranui, Yuhi, and, for some reason, the Aburame were all against us. With that they tied us up, the Aburame getting 2 votes from being a noble clan, a creepy clan, yes, but noble nonetheless, and all the others getting a vote. So it came down to the elders and the Hokage. The Hokage put in his 3 votes for us, but the elders put the 4 votes they get between the 2 of them against us. Wait, said Inoichi as they walked towards the Akamichi homes. You're saying all the others' clans didn't listen to 2 clans which specialize in the ways of the mind? And what's with the Yuhi? They are a bunch of brainy genjutsu users. They know almost as much about the mind as the Morino. How could they misdiagnose the boy? Shouldn't they have? They didn't though, said Shikaka, interrupting his blonde friend, and that's all that matters in the end. Perhaps the clan head went against the rest of their wishes, maybe they were bribed, in the end it doesn't matter. It's the Aburame that have me worried, they're usually smarter and more level-headed than that, nothing ever moves them away from the path of logic. Yeah, I see what you mean, said a calmer Choza, like what they said about their position after the Kyuubi attack, and with dealing with the Kumo incident. If anything I would have thought the Hyuga would want the boy back in the school, not the Aburame. Please, the Hyuga just wanted to keep the boy away from training as long as possible. They're afraid of him, just like they were afraid of every other Uchiha. The whole Itachi thing has them on edge. Sasuke is Itachi's brother after all, so Sasuke will clearly have plenty of potential. Ah, it's all too troublesome, was how Shikaku ended. Hearing this, Inoichi decided to change the subject. So what are you guys going to do about your boys now? That Uchiha did a number on them. You think they'll be okay? Choza clenched his fist at this, and though it was slight one could see Shikaku's eyes narrow. Well, started the Akamichi, I think it's time my boy started to take his training a little more seriously. The Uchiha, by all accounts, wasn't even using taijutsu, he was brawling like some civilian. I know the academy hasn't gotten to teach them much yet, but they should have been able to stop some kid if they had kept their heads. Yeah, Choji and I are going to start working on chakra control, working out, and his chakra levels. Maybe if he gets good enough in the next year I'll start to teach him clan jutsus and fighting styles. As troublesome as it is, Choza's right. My boy has a good mind, just like every other Nara male. It's time we started to bring it forward so he can use it. I was planning to wait till the year he graduates to start teaching shadow techniques, but maybe I should start sooner than later. They walked a little while longer in silence, entering the Akamichi household, until Shikaku turned to Inoichi. I know it may be a bit soon for her, but maybe you should start to teach Ino while she's at home as well. I mean, once you can understand those damn textbooks you read for fun, then chakra and other shinobi basics are like reading a bedtime story. Inoichi stared at the man a second, thinking, yeah, maybe. Being a shinobi isn't going to be easy for her even if she is the top kunoichi in her class. See you guys tomorrow. My mission starts at about 4 tomorrow, so maybe I'll come over and see what you guys plan on doing with your 2 brats. Yeah, our brats will be able to pass on the clan names at least, was Choza's reply as he grinned at the blonde man. Inoichi passed on a smile as well, that is unless she refuses to let Shikamaru keep his last name. I mean, have you ever seen the 2 of them? Bickering like an old married couple already. I know, Shikaku groaned in reply. It reminds me of when Yoshino and I met, and she was at least a year behind me. My boy will have to deal with her even during the academy. Yeah, can't wait for that wedding, he said as he stood up and walked for the door. At least her father won't have to keep a kunai to the boy's back, she'll have that covered by herself. Chuckling he left. Later that night Choza asked his son what size he was, ready to get him a set of Akamichi armor. Shikaku told his son that they would be playing some sort of strategy game every night, shugi, go, whatever. And lastly Ino was introduced, much to her horror, to her new familial partners, psychology and sociology, all 1,743 pages of them. That day, after the academy let out, Ino-chan, over here, yelled Sakura, not as sure of herself as she was during the morning. Oh, I love him, I know I do, but would he ever want to be with someone as weak as me? Hey Sakura, said Ino as she walked towards the bench where they always met after classes. Yeah Ino, she responded as she stopped asking herself such questions. You like Sasuke, don't you? The pink-haired kunoichi in training went wide-eyed as Ino asked her that. Don't even try to deny it, she cut in, seeing the girl try to protest. It's written all over your face now. Looking at the smirking Ino, Sakura lowered her gaze to a puddle next to the bench. How did you figure it out? She asked simply. It was from this morning, you said you wanted to talk to me about something. Then when you saw Sasuke there was how you acted, how we acted, you've never done that before. So, she said, looking up as something clicked in her head, does that mean you like him too? A slight blush in her face, as she hoped it wasn't true. Well yeah, I think every girl in our class does, well everyone except Hinata, but she seems to like a boy in one of the older classes. But after what he said today. Yeah, said Sakura sadly, he doesn't want to waste his time with weak people, but everyone's weak to him, I know it. So, asked Ino, getting a confused look from Sakura, we just need to become as strong as he is? The pink-haired girl nodded her head, thinking, when a blush suddenly came over her face, Ino. There might be one little problem there. The Yamanaka looked at her friend confused, wondering what problem there could be. Well there are two of us and what? Asked the girl not understanding. Well there are two of us, but only one Sasuke. As Sakura's meaning became clear the girl blushed something fierce. Oh, that was the intelligent response. I mean, we would need to get strong enough to even have him notice us, but one day I want to fall in love and get married just like my mother did. You can't do that if the person you're in love with doesn't love only you. Looking kinda sheepish Ino rubbed the back of her neck. Yeah. I guess so, but we still need to get strong anyway, so we can worry about that later, right? Sakura gave a big smile. Yeah. Listen, let's make a promise. Let's promise that we will both get strong before we try and get Sasuke's love. Ino's smile could rival another certain blonde's. Yeah. Hey, you said your mom used to be a shinobi before, right? Sakura's smile fell a little. Well, once upon a time anyway. Why? She asked. Well, according to Daddy, once a person becomes a shinobi they never forget. It's like their minds take stuff in and we remember through there, but our bodies never forget something once we've mastered it. He said that even in the course of the academy we will learn to call up chakra and fight, that even after we graduate we could go years without using the stuff and still be able to use it to some extent. I don't know all the details, but that's what he told me. He said that's the kind of stuff I'll have to know to learn the family jutsu. Sakura was in awe. Sure, Ino was the strongest kunoichi in the class, but she had never heard something so intelligent out of her friend. Oh, well then, why don't we ask her if she can help us with anything? Great, yelled Ino as she took Sakura by the hand and started to drag the girl towards her own home. Say Sakura? What rank was your mother? I mean, I know she wasn't from a clan or anything, but there are plenty of first-generation ninja with high ranks, so, what rank was she? Sakura let out a little blush. Oh. Well, I don't really know the ranks yet, they haven't taught us yet and my mom didn't teach me any shinobi stuff yet. Seeing Ino's face twist in annoyance she told her the one thing she did know, but I can tell you one thing. I found an old cloth in the back of a closet in my house last week. It was blue and had the symbol for fire on the front inside a circle. When she found me I asked her and she said she was a guard once, one of 12, and that it was something really rare. Really rare? Asked Ino, not fully convinced. Well, maybe we can ask her when we get there. And with that they took off to the Haruno home twice as fast as before. When they arrived they saw the older pink-haired woman chasing away a blonde kid who had bent over to smell her flowers with a broom. Get out of here. You leave my flowers alone, brat. They didn't do anything to you. And the kid fled out of fear for the cleaning device, dropping a pair of goggles which the pink-haired woman threw after the boy. Turning back to sweep the path to her home, Sakura's mother, Ume, saw the two girls run up to her. "Sakura-chan, Ino-chan, my dears, what are you doing here? I thought you would be out playing." "Hello mother," greeted Sakura, bowing slightly to her mother. "Hello Haruno-sama," bowing as well. "Oh stop that Ino-sama, my rear end. I'm no great lady, you know, you may just call me by my first name, dear." "Ume is what my mother called me when I was born, and that's good enough for me," answered Ume, a genuine smile on her face. "Hi Ume-san, well, we were just wondering if you could help us train a bit?" asked an eager Ino. "Really? Well then, I guess there is a trick or two I might have," was her response as she put on a thinking look. Though on the inside she was excited. "Finally. I've waited for my daughter to start taking kunoichi training seriously, and Ino, you are the answer. Maybe I should teach her a little of my style too, I need to brush up a bit till we get too far, but still. I could show you a thing or two. Tell me girls, what are the major fields of combat?" "Well, there is ninjutsu, taijutsu, and genjutsu," answered Ino, knowing at least that much of the basics. Sakura was next. "Well, we learn about senjutsu, but that's not so much fighting as it is planning out your fights in advance, knowing your enemy, stuff like that." "Good, but you missed one, something that I happen to be very good at, kenjutsu. The art of sword fighting." As she said his, she took her broom into a basic stance and went through one of the katas for some style. Both the girls looked at the women wielding her broom around like she was crazy. Mom, I think we get the point, you can stop any moment now." "Ume-san, are you okay there?" Hiolu? After finally getting the women's attention, she led them to her bedroom and pulled out a long box. "This is a box of mementos from when I was a kunoichi," she said as she lifted off the lid, revealing a blue silk cloth on top, the symbol for fire in a red circle near a corner. "This I got after I became a Junin. I was offered the position to become one of the 12 guards of the Fire Lord." At this she had Ino and Sakura in awe, amazed that such a simple woman had once been in such a position. "The daimyo himself came to me after he saw me in the Junin exams, saying it was the only kunoichi fight he had ever seen, that my beautiful pink hair drew his attention. He was so handsome." Seeing her mother go into La La Land, Sakura was worried. Luckily Ino did the only logical thing a 7-year-old girl could do, she slapped the women. Looking around confused. "Right. Thank you Ino. As I was saying, I was a personal guard to the daimyo himself, working beside people like the Hokage's son, a great shinobi monk named Shiriku, and let's not forget the amazing Isshin, my personal mentor on the guard. He taught me so much, even about some techniques my great-great-great-grandfather had possessed, if stories are true. Anyway, he was good, but me, I became the best. I fought Momochi Zabuza, a fish guy named Kisame, both of which were a part of the 7 swordsmen of the mist. A whole bunch of people, and then there was." Slowly but surely Sakura and Ino's eye glazed over and they started to fall asleep. Even academy teachers weren't this boring. Not that the stuff wasn't interesting, but she just pushed on and on. Finally, after an hour of talking, the woman put the cloth to the side and pulled out something else. A Konoha headband, then after that a long object covered in fine silk the color of peaches. Perhaps a shade of pink, who knew? The color seemed to change as it moved. "And this," she said, while revealing a sword hilt and pushing it up to reveal an inch of blade, "was my constant companion through it all. My mother, though distraught by my choice to be a kunoichi, decided that if I would do something made for a man, then I would have a man's weapon, and she couldn't have picked a better blade. When I got her, she looked like a piece of junk. I couldn't even get it out of the sheath to see the blade, but a quick cleaning and an unsealing let me fix that and revealed a blade of amazing quality. My mother paid a homeless man a few ryo for the blade he had, and yet I have never needed to sharpen it. Blood, sap, mud, and this one tree, none of it ever stuck to the blade. If it had the original sheath, I bet it would have been just as amazing as the sword." Reluctantly she covered the sword back up and placed it back in the box. "I will be teaching you girls the basics of the Sakura style of kenjutsu, a style said to have originated with one of the sword gods, aides to the Shinigami himself. You know, Isshin claimed they are the Shinigami, that they were a group of warriors who helped move soul on." She stopped here, hearing the snort from Ino. "Well then, it seems the history lesson is over." Slowly she packed up the box's contents and she stood up, and walked into the closet with the box. When she came out she had long 9-pronged whip in her hands, Now it's time for your physical conditioning." She grinned, they ran, and screams were heard. Outside the Haruno home, the young Hinata Hyuga watched as a pink-haired banshee chased off that blonde-haired boy. Who was he? All she had was a name, Naruto Maelstrom. Why did he train as much as he did? He was, after all, only as old as she and the others in her class. Yet he was 2 grades above her. She didn't understand, and didn't try to, she just watched the boy go with sad eyes, as the memory of the Uchiha's speech came to mind. If he's 2 grades above me, then he must be even stronger than Sasuke. So I'll have to be stronger still. I will be strong Naruto. My Naruto-kun. That night she trained with her father and did not stop when he said she could if she wished, for that he was very pleased. Even Neji usually stopped more often than not at that point. When her father made small talk at dinner with his brother and her, she did not stutter once, though inside she was ready to die from fear of the older 2 men. Through this she held one thought in her mind, for Naruto-kun. 6 months later, during Kumo's negotiations with Konoha, a soft tapping of feet could be heard against the hardwood floors in the Hyuga manor. Hinata Hyuga would never have heard them this late at night, save for the fact that she had not fallen to sleep yet, having cried for the first time in months. Naruto Uzumaki had been beaten badly today and she had watched as he had crawled back to his home after being denied the hospital. The part that stung the worst was the Anbu. They had been there, they had stopped the villagers, and had helped the boy up, but refused to do any more than that, even telling him that the hospital would not take him in. It stung, and it stung that she did nothing to help him. I will not be weak. I promised myself that, but here I am, crying, and there I was, with all the power in the world to help him, and I did nothing but stand still and watch him. She cried hard and now just lay awake in her bed, berating herself. Then she heard the feet and soon saw the shadow outside her thin paper door. Quickly, without seal or word, she activated her Byakugan, one thing she made sure she could do, though few could. She saw everything, every movement, every object, and every speck of chakra for 25 feet, even the bodies of the 2 branch members outside her room at either end of the hall. That had pulled her attention long enough for the man, with his Kumo head protector, to open the door. She made no sound as she was gagged and swept up over his shoulder, seeing no reason to tie her hands or feet. That was a mistake. For a minute she was in shock over what was happening, then, with her Byakugan still open, she stuck once on his back. The man collapsed and she was sent sprawling, making enough noise to waken her other guardian in another room. Hizashi came out to the sight of Hinata standing over a dead Kumo nin, the one heading over talks with Konoha. Lord Hyuga's mercy. What is this madness? In 3 minutes the compound was abuzz and every Hyuga with the famed all-seeing eyes had it active. As for Hinata, oh yes, this night set her path. This Hyuga would be strong. She was the first Hyuga to take a life while still in the academy. People will grow strong if they have enough motivation, or they shall try at the very least. Kiba Inuzuka though wasn't even given the chance to try. 3 weeks after the incident with the Uchiha Gaki, Kiba took a look around the classroom. Ino and Sakura now had wooden swords on their backs. Hinata seemed to be advancing in leaps and bounds, quickly taking place as the number 1 kunoichi. Choji now wore a set of purple and red armor with the kanji for eat on the front. For once shaky Shikamaru was paying attention, even asking questions of the teacher and contributing to the class. Heck, even Shino carried a weapon around now, a pair of scythes that seemed to make him look like a grasshopper when he took a stance. The only ones who hadn't changed were himself and Sasuke Uchiha, though that boy was already surpassing the rest easily. Kiba felt like he had to do something, so he vowed to go to his sister and mother today and start the family training. But it was not to be. "No son, you're not ready to start that training yet," were the first words out of the Inuzuka matriarch's mouth after hearing her son's request. Kiba was angry at her, though he could not see why she had chosen things to be this way. "But you started Hana when she was my age, why can't you be reasonable?" You deserve nothing," she hissed between clenched teeth, a small trickle of killing intent leaking out. "I swear to Cerberus you are the most stubborn child I have ever met. Listen well, you will not start training because you are not in your last year of the academy. 8 years ago Hana was rushed into being a genin because of the Kyuubi's attack on our village. It is because of that, not her, that the training started early. Secondly, you have yet to bond with a pup, your chakra is not matured enough for that. Even Hana had to wait until she was 10 for that to happen. I do not want to hear any more of deserving what you clearly do not, and with that she left the trembling Kiba all alone. Hurt, angry, sad, envious, scared, and most of all ashamed of himself, he had very good reasons to be trembling. Kiba would fall to the last place in their class, till a certain blonde kid entered in the last year. That year Kiba started training, yet his grades never raised and his rank stayed second last. Akamaru bonded to him when he had turned 9, and was strong enough to join him in classes, yet he never seemed to grow, and his mother never let him push past what he was ready for. To him he was being held back, but he could not fight it. Who would have, though one little fight would leave Kiba Inuzuka in the dust of his peers. Enter the Uzumaki. Naruto wasn't happy. No, Uzumaki Naruto was having the worst day of his life. Why, you may ask? Well, today is Naruto's 11th birthday, the day he, unknown to either him or those of his generation, had the 9-tailed demon fox sealed inside of him. Yes, 11 years ago on this very October day Naruto was made the jailer and warder of the Kyuubi no Kitsune, the most powerful demon to ever walk the realms of Earth. Normally on this day Naruto knew enough to stay away from the town and even his own home, out of fear of being beaten and chased by the village folk and shinobi alike, though he knew not why they chased him, beat him, called him a demon, and, worst of all in Naruto's mind, spread evil lies to their children and the rest of his generation, leaving the poor boy friendless in the cold world of the shinobi. But today Naruto couldn't help but come out of the shadows, for he heard a rumor of an ambassador being escorted to the Hokage's tower today, a man from the Whirlpool country, a place he had never heard of, since its shinobi village was so small and secretive. But these aren't what made him come out to see the old man, it was his name, Uzumaki. It couldn't be, he had no family, right? But he had to know, one way or another. So, dressed in all orange, as it was his favorite color, and that they would sell him nothing else but the ugly bright orange outfit, he left that morning to wait for the diplomat to arrive. People who passed him by saw nothing, as he had finally gotten the hang of the henge and made himself blend into the wall he sat by. 1 hour, he was patient, 2, he was bored, 3 hours he was ready to tear hair out. After 4 hours Naruto was ready to leave when he saw them. A group of 10 Anbu Black Ops all in dark cloaks surrounding one man. Uzumaki Kinto, a tall man, with golden red hair and beard, eyes as green as emeralds. The only problem was, he had let the henge drop, and on this day, this close to a foreign diplomat, that spelled certain disaster. The first to see him was not the villagers, or the 10 Anbu, all save one of which, a certain Hitaki Kakashi, would gladly see him dead. No, it was in fact the one Naruto came to see. For a split second the two seemed to look each other straight in the eyes, deep blue of youth and the hard green of time. In that second they questioned themselves. From Naruto it was questions he had asked himself from the days he lived in the Konoha orphanage. Do I have a family somewhere? Is this person related to me somehow? Should I bother getting my hopes up again? From the man it was about something he had thought he would never see again. Those eyes, are they? No. Are those his eyes? It means nothing, if they are but my Shina-chan. Then their eyes drifted, Naruto's towards the symbol on the Mon's chest, that of the whirlpool, and the Mon's towards the patch on Naruto's shoulder, a whirlpool in a flame. Before either of them could say, do, or think anything else the Anbu had moved into action, 6 jumping around the man while the other 4 charged towards Naruto. Stay away from the ambassador you little demon child, yelled one of the masked men, as he unsheathed his sword. Seeing this Naruto jumped into action himself, throwing down a smoke bomb and making a run for it. Who was that boy? Asked Kinto, nearly afraid to ask. Luckily for our hero Kakashi answered. The child's name is Naruto, he is an orphan who attends the ninja academy here. Why do you ask Lord Kinto? Go find him and bring me his jacket. Leave the boy alive though, he does not seem the most liked here. Hi. And Kakashi jumped away, glad that he had been the one sent, knowing the others in the group may have been a little more fatal in carrying out these orders. With Naruto, damn it, Naruto was not having a good day. Stupid rope. Kill the demon. Lynch him. Finish what the 4th started. No, Naruto was having the worst day of his life. Why, you may ask. I had to be a fucking retard and run into the middle of the goddamn fucking festivale. Yes, it was true. Normally Uzumaki Naruto was better than his, that could keep his head and managed to outrun Anbu on a few occasions. Naruto, though he was the dead last in the academy right now, was not stupid nor untalented. He had managed to memorize every path and passage through Konoha, otherwise known as the village hidden in the leaves. He could already do the henge, replacement, and bushin jutsus, though the last had taken him all summer to get the hang of. He was great at hiding, tracking, and his taijutsu were above that of most of his fellow academy students. Right now though, that didn't matter, because now he had been caught, tied to a wooden pole and was being carried to a tree meant to hang traitors and enemy shinobi from. Hey, come on, I'll buy you all ramen if you let me go. Shut it, demon child, we don't want anything from you. Come on. Everyone loves ramen. Naruto begged, pleaded, and hoped to be let go, but if the power of ramen wasn't enough, then what was? The answer to that was a lightning-covered fist that shattered the pole and let Naruto fall to the ground and jet away. The Hokage himself had been prepared to intervene, watching from his crystal ball to see if anyone there had the guts to stand up for the boy. He was glad to see Kakashi stop the ignorant fools, but still saddened to know they had to be stopped in the first place. As Naruto ran towards the forest, since his home was no doubt being ransacked and defiled, he could feel the tracking eyes of someone behind him. As soon as he stopped in a familiar clearing, he bent over to get a quick breath and felt a sharp pain on the back of his neck, then knew no more. "You should be safe here until tonight," said Kakashi as he took off Naruto's jacket and threw his own black cloak on top of the boy. "With the Hokage and Kinto. Sarutobi-sama, I thank you for your men as escorts," said the red-haired Uzumaki. "Of course, Konoha will do anything for its allies, and this such a small thing, how could we not? Please have a seat. Were there any problems on the way here?" asked the elderly man, already knowing the answer. No, said the man as he sat across from the Hokage in his amazingly paper-free office, though your men mistook one boy for a threat. It is nice to know that they were protecting me, but the poor lad nearly had his head removed. What was his name? Ah yes, Naruto, very interesting eyes that one. Indeed, perhaps you would like to know his full name? He said knowingly, as a knocking came at the door, which one of the two Anbu guarding the room answered, and took something orange in his hands. Yes, he had a patch on his coat that was, "Ah, here it is," he exclaimed, taking the orange parcel from the Anbu and pulling out one of the sleeves to see the shoulder patch. "Lord Uzumaki, why is Naruto's jacket here?" A little upset that he would have something stolen from the poor boy. "Just to confirm something." Looking closely, he said softly to the Hokage, "He is an Uzumaki, isn't he, Sarutobi-sama?" "He is Kushina's son." The older man could only nod in response. Taking a breath and handing the jacket to the professor, he went on, "So, has he awoken the refiner? It is a very rare gift for someone of mixed blood to have. It is hard to tell if he has, something else, that makes it difficult to tell. His stamina is beyond the human level, he is fast, and his senses are very acute." "So he has it," said the bearded man, a smile snaking onto his face. "No," said the Sandame, taking a deep breath, "he has a tenant, I guess one could say, that does all of those things for him already." "A tenant? What are you talking about?" "Yes," said the man, hearing the sounds of the party outside. 11 years ago, the man whom my niece left us for died, killing it. He couldn't, could he? It was a demon after all. No, he couldn't. So he sealed it away, Fufu. You find this funny? Yes, in a way. You see, Naruto has been exiled from his clan unless he can awaken his powers, and he has something inside him that could boost them to the levels of our forefathers. A frown had formed across the elder man's face. Uzumaki, Naruto is not something for you to use. If you try anything, Uzumaki-san, then you will. Please, Sarutobi, I said nothing of the sort. I just found it ironic that if he could awaken his powers he would be beyond any pureblood of our family, Fufu. Well, I hope you shall give him his jacket back for me. But we must really start these talks on how we may repay you and the rest of Konoha. If it weren't for your men, then my country might have been a dent in the earth. Well, there is one way. An open alliance would be more than enough to get good trade through both lands and give each of us more manpower. Yes, maybe it is time for our hidden village to come out in the open. That is how we Uzumaki like to fight, so why not lead the village the same way? Kukuku, that is exactly like Naruto. He hasn't even met one of you and he acts the same way. The Great Cage wanted to say something, he couldn't let it rest. Should I tell the boy? With a sigh, tired of talking of things from the past, I will tell you the same thing I told Kushina-chan. If and only if he awakens his bloodline, then we will tell him everything of his clan. One of the Anbu said he was an orphan, so I assume they and he knows nothing of that man. Minato was his name, your Yondaime? No one, not even he himself, knows of any of his family, and it is against the law to speak of his tenant, on pain of death. Then as he rubbed his head, though that has not made his life any easier. The older generation name no names, but they poison the youth of today against the boy. Well, if he wakens the refiner, then you know where to turn. There is special training he will need that only we may offer. Know this, his clan will not shun him for what he holds back. A smile appeared on the wrinkled face of the Hokage. Thank you, and for that I think we might be able to reduce some of the loans Konoha gave you, for private services rendered. One day Naruto, I know you will have a family someday. The next morning, ow, my neck, complained Naruto, sitting up and pulling the cloak off his neck. Whoever did that's going to pay for it in ramen. Hey, my jacket. Standing up, protecting himself from the morning cold with the cloak, Naruto made his way to the Hokage's tower to complain. When he got there he was greeted with the sound of paperwork. Hey old man. You here yet? He yelled, earning a disapproving look from one of the assistants. Hey now, no need to yell so early, said a tall man with a black beard, hair, and sideburns, a cigarette lit in his mouth. You Naruto? Yeah, probable, he said, not even waiting for an answer, while handing Naruto his jacket. Listen, name's Asuma. I was told to get your jacket for you and to get a report on what happened yesterday from you. So why don't we go talk over some breakfast? What you want? Give you 3 guesses and the first 2 don't count. Ramen. 1 wok and 10 bowls later. Alrighty then. Well, I came out to see the ambassador from the Whirlpool country. When he came, one of the Anbu wearing a boar mask comes out and tries to cut my head off. So I throw down a smoke bomb and run for it. As soon as I realized he wasn't following me, though I was being held down by someone and my arms and legs were tied up and I was being carried like a deer towards the hanging tree. After a few minutes someone came through and destroyed the pole I was being carried on, and I'm making a run for it. When I reach the forest though, someone knocks me out, steals my jacket, and gives me this thing around my back. Asuma, playing with his first bowl of ramen, looks at Naruto. Unless you can give me some names, the only one we got is the Anbu, and he is practically immune from prosecution since he was on guard duty. He could simply say that he was taking an action he thought was necessary at the moment, even if it was later learned to be unnecessary. Taking a long drag from his death stick he went on. You could try and get him, but you need to be a Konoha shinobi to try and bring anyone up on court-martial, and besides, that will just lead to him using that excuse and you're at point zero again. Just try and not to get into those situations again. You ain't a shinobi yet and are not afforded the benefits of being one. Don't worry, I have the bushin down flat now. In 8 months I'll be a ninja and anyone who messes with me is going to get their asses handed to them. Naruto. 8 months later. Uzumaki. Naruto, yelled a very pissed of Iruka, you fail. But I know I did it right. I had it down since last summer. You know that, you're the one who helped me with it, said a nervous and upset Naruto. Iruka, this is the 3rd time he took the exam, and you have seen him make a clone, right? Said a platinum-haired Mizuki. We could let him pass. This brightened up Naruto's day a lot. Yeah. I was just a little nervous, Iruka-sensei. I'm sorry Naruto, but you both know the rules. Besides, if you can't take the stress from this little test, then what's going to happen when you get in a real fight? But Iruka-sensei, Naruto begged once more, only to be just off. No Naruto, you will have to take the test next year, then, so even Mizuki couldn't hear. I'm sorry Naruto. Upset, our young hero walks out and immediately goes outside to sit on swing, watching as all of the other people, the happy families. Fathers and their sons who have just become men. Mothers and their daughters. People all so happy that their children are going off to kill and be killed. At least I'm not as delusional. I know what's going to happen. I already have a taste of what the world's going to throw at them, and even my little taste would be too much to handle. Getting up, Naruto starts to walk to the trash he calls a home. A place that has been raided over the years just for the fun of it all. Destroyed and defiled for something he had no control over. Hated as a lair for evil because something he still had no idea about. Naruto. Came the gentle call behind him. What do you want, Mizuki-sensei? Come on, let's go talk somewhere. 5 minutes later and they were on top of a building looking at the Hokage's tower. You know Iruka-sensei wants you to pass, right Naruto? Yeah, but he is a very serious person and he can't just let you through without earning it. I know that, but it feels like he's just picking on me. I mean he knows I can do a Bushin. He saw me do one yesterday after I painted the Hokage's monument. He probably sees a little of himself in you. He just wants you to work hard and earn what you get. I still wish I could graduate with the others. At this a smirk crosses Mizuki's face. Really? I guess you just need to know the secret. Naruto shivered, like a sixth sense was telling him something. What is it Mizuki-sensei? I knew I was right to use a genjutsu. He just might be able to get it and take the blame too. I love sweet revenge. Hokage's tower. Walking up to the tower Naruto still couldn't help but feel something is wrong. Why something like this? Why does this feel so wrong? Why? Then it struck, like a bolt of lightning, he wants the scroll. I am such a moron, he. I'm also the king of all pranksters, and I love sweet revenge. 20 minutes later Naruto was in the woods with a large scroll, all thanks to his lovely new jutsu, though he still felt bad, but for a different reason. I can't believe it. Ogg-san is a pervert too. Finally settling down in a clearing Naruto opens the scroll and starts to read the first one. No. Not another clone jutsu. With a sigh he starts to read its description. Kage Bushin no Jutsu. As is well known in the world of shinobi, Bushins are a golden necessity. With the most basic of cloning techniques you may fool the simple-minded into attacking a false image. When an element is added you create a solid clone, though with an added effect. A zap with contact in the Raiden. Bushin, an explosion with the Kaden. Bushin, extra durability with the Doden. Bushin, the great speed of the Fuden. Bushin, and the flexibility of the Mizuden. Bushin. The downside of these being that they can be detected quite easily if you know what to look for: tremors in the earth, sudden moisture, movement, heat, or static in the air. A well-trained shinobi can sense such things, and a dujutsu can see them even faster than the well-trained shinobi can sense them. It is because of such things that the Uchiha clan first tried to create a better type of clone. In the end, after they formed an alliance with the woodland tribes, they created this jutsu. Though it does not draw on the shadows to create a clone, which would make it a specialized elemental clone, when used properly for spying from the shadows it is truly the perfect clone. Solid clones that can perform the basic distracting function of clones as well as no extra elemental output. Memory use. Naruto didn't exactly understand what that meant. A chakra level is equal to that of the original, so they are undistinguished before most dujutsu. And they have the same skill level as the original as well as an equal portion of the original's chakra, allowing these clones the ability to perform jutsu and retain a sort of self-awareness from the point of creation. Some have dared to say that this is akin to creating life based off of an original mother, and so it very well may be, though all scientific attempts to reproduce a permanent Kage Bushin have been unsuccessful at best. Also see Shuriken Kage Bushin explosion. Thump. Damn, that's a lot to take in. Looking on farther, Naruto saw that this was only the start of the technique. It went on to explain jutsu theory and, if he would have read it long enough, an explanation for memory use. Naruto being Naruto though skimmed to the end where the hand signs needed and how to manipulate your chakra was listed for practicality's use. However, Naruto noticed something. The scroll was huge, there had to be hundreds of jutsu in here. Yes, he could work on this technique for the next few hours, or... Searching through his side pouch Naruto produced a pen and a blank scroll. Let's see, Kage Bushin no Jutsu. Alright, just write that down, good. Next, Avada Ka Nope. Let's see Mokuton. Why would I want to make trees? The Rasengan. Requires great control and was the jutsu of the fourth. While strong and requiring great control, it was placed in this scroll not because it was evil or a danger to the user, but so it could be passed to his son one day. Guess he won't get that wish, he never had a son. Guess I'll just write these 3 steps down. Good, and good. Next up, Balefire? Damn, even Kiba wouldn't have the balls to use this. Good thing I have more balls than Kiba. One more should be enough, especially since they are getting harder and harder. Let's see Storm God's Summoning. What in the name of the Kyuubi is this? The particular jutsu in question was of epic proportions, requiring beyond perfect chakra control and reserves only a demon could hope to have, to call upon all of the elements at once to create a storm that would tear apart friend and foe and possibly a whole nation with it. But that was only part of the solution. If you found a place with the proper conditions, then one could call forth a great being of immense size and power to do your bidding. It was far beyond Naruto right now, in both chakra control and chakra amounts needed. Standing up and hiding his little scroll, Naruto started to learn his first jutsu. You know where this is going, folks. 3 hours later. Where'd that voice come from? Naruto now sat in his bedroom, thinking about what happened a little over an hour ago. He could hear those kunai whizzing by as Iruka was struck, saving him even now. He could see Mizuki's face as he informed Naruto of his deceit this afternoon. Figured it out, huh? You were smarter than you ever showed at the academy. Why else would I have to use genjutsu's own your tests so you'd fail, or at the end of the year exam? You made 3 beautiful clones, though I guess my little trick covered up your work. Oh well, clones aren't going to get you anywhere now. He could still hear Iruka's pleas to stop until he finally told Naruto the truth hidden since his birth. Traitor, spat Naruto. Oh really? Am I the traitor? You know you were betrayed by the whole village, even the Hokage. He would never betray me, yelled Naruto with hate, wanting to leave and yet he couldn't move as soon as he heard those words, any form of plan forgotten. Oh yes, you see there is a secret that the whole village has kept from you. Stop, you see, 11 years ago the 4th sealed the 9-tailed demon inside a child. Mizuki, stop this, that child, Naruto, was you. You are the 9-tailed fox. And then he lifted his giant shuriken over his head and charged Naruto, who started to glow red. After that it was like a haze came over everything. Sure he remembered it, but it all seemed so surreal. He remembered blasting Mizuki back with a roar as the Chunin prepared to attack Iruka and himself. He remembered calming down and creating 1,000+ clones and beating the living shit out of Mizuki Teme. And then he remembered Iruka giving him his shinobi headpiece and feeling overjoyed, and yet not caring at all. After all, how often do you hear that you have a millennium-old demon sealed within your navel? So I have a demon inside me? Said Naruto as he lay awake on his bed. Yup, said. Actually Naruto didn't have a clue who said that. Who's there? He yelled, jumping up and pulling a kunai out. Show yourself. If I could I would. As it is I want to kill half the villagers for what I've seen them do, said the voice. The Kyuubi. Hey, you figured it out, and I didn't even need to yell at you. Damn, I must be tired if I'm talking to the little voice in my head. That sounds way too nice to be the Kyuubi. Oh, okay. How does this sound? Much more violent for you. Do you want me to tell you that I'm going to rip your throat out and feast on your INNERDS? Is that what you want to hear? No, I'm good, and pissed myself, said a shocked Naruto, who suddenly started brooding again. What do you want? Make my life even more hell than it already is. Now even if I leave the village I'll have a portable hate machine. Damn, this kid is really down. Tell you what Gaki, the only reason I came out is because we need to talk. Oh, and what do we need to talk about, Teme? Asked Naruto as he buried his head into a pillow. First, you need to stop booting. I like happy people over sad ones, and because you used my chakra. Wait, did you just say you like happy people? You're a demon. Why would a demon like happy people? It's a little off topic, but they give a better crunch in every bite if you must know. But I was talking about when you used my chakra. When you did that you made it so I can finally get out a little, talk and help boost your powers. You know how good your senses are? Yeah, so? They're about to get much sharper. When you used my chakra it forced your bloodline awake. This got Naruto sitting up straight. Bloodline? As in a Kekai Genkai? A bloodline limit. Well that got you up, Kukuku. Yes, a bloodline no is the refiner. Very interesting. You see I have read into your DNA some. You have another bloodline through your father as well and the potential for an underdeveloped dujutsu. So what's it do? What's it do? He asked as happy as he was just a day ago. Kukuku, settle down. It increases your sense, all of them, and helps your body out by giving you more strength, speed, stamina. By the end of the month you should be a few inches taller as well. Just think, with my power already coursing through your veins you will be able to pick up on the smallest scent. Taste poisons before they can harm you. Feel the air move as things move towards you, and will practically see with your eyes closed. Then your speed, strength, and stamina will increase to match your new senses. You'll be able to outdo that pathetic Uchiha in a second. And your other bloodlines, just imagine it, you as the greatest Hokage ever, that is, without my help. With my help I can make you greater than all Kages that have come before. You will rise above Hokage. You will become the Kamikage, a virtual god on earth. The Kamikage, the god shadow. But why help me? Why? He asked, reading Naruto's mind. Why not? To get there you will need to unify the world. Gain the respect of everyone, become more powerful than anyone. Naruto, we're going to be stuck together a long time. My chakra will expand your lifetime to that of 100 men, and if you die, I die. I'm just trying to expand my life here. Maybe someday I can escape, who knows, but until then I want to make sure you live. To ensure that, you need to be strong, and that is where I can help. All I need from you is to let me control your chakra for a minute or two and I can take you somewhere where you can get stronger, multiple places actually. What do I have to lose? I'm weak as it is. Being the Kamikage sounds much better than the plain old Hokage. Alright Fox, you got a deal, but two things. You never try and hurt those close to me and you never force me to do something if I don't want to. Alright, so I will not harm anyone close to you, make you do anything, and help you become strong as possible. But I need something more than life, since our lives are already intertwined. If you have a chance to set me free without killing yourself, then you take it and you will actually listen to what I have to say. Deal? Deal. If you break your word then I swear you're going to go down with me, yelled the boy, hitting his head, trying to jostle the fox around. Hey Gaki, a few other things. 1, I'm in your stomach not your head. 2, you can't hit me like that, and 3, you never need to worry about a demon going back on his word. Any verbal contracts with a demon are like soul pacts. If I break mine then you'll get all my power and vice versa. If you break your word then I guess I'll simple gain control of your body. I don't like your body yet. Shut it Fox Teme. So when's my training start? How we going to do it? When's my bloodline going to activate? Calm down, that's lesson number 1. Next, your bloodline is already active. It just starts up slowly so you can get used to it. In 2 days it should be up and running without a problem. Next thing is we are going other places to get training. Places where time is meaningless to your body, so you won't grow and your bloodline won't start activating. Now remember what I said, I need control over your chakra for a minute. Just relax and let go. Good. Next stop Coruscant. And with that Naruto took his first leap into greatness. Well, it's more like he fell really, but that's a story for a different day. Today was the day that destinies would be unveiled. They knew their duty, their paths were set, and in this morning they prepared for war. Naruto woke up early on this day. It felt like a couple of months to him, though here time had not passed in the slightest. He set his materials on his futon and knelt down looking over them. He checked all of the kunai and shuriken he had specially made on Coruscant, which would never break when compared to normal weapons of the elemental countries. He had to sneak out of the temple to have these made. By the time they were ready to be picked up it was even harder to sneak out, they were getting used to catching me. Next was a small silvery tube he had obtained right before he left. He held the thing gently, not only for the power the weapon held, but for the fact that it had been held by someone he had managed to grow close to. She had been sweet, innocent, and so wonderful of a person. Flashback. Naruto didn't know what was happening, but he felt something. Riko was training with him now, the blue Twi'lek helping him learn how to sense through the force. She would occasionally make a quick motion near him. His job was to sense that motion before it truly happened and counteract it. But right now he could swear there was a sound from the hall. Was that a lightsaber? As he looked towards the door she made a jab at him. Turning quickly he grabbed her hand right before it connected with him. She had a very pleased look on her face. She was clearly concentrating on the training completely. Youngling, you did well. I believe if we keep working on this you will be ready to be a Padawan before the month is up. I would be honored if you would be my pa. Riko-sensei, he interrupted, didn't you feel that? Something's in the hall. His face was a little anxious, he didn't know what he had sensed, it just felt wrong. No, she frowned, opening herself to the force more fully, walking close to the door. Master Windu always advises us to stay focused on the here and now. Naruto had that feeling in the force again and could see the young girl pale visibly. She quickly pulled open out her weapon of choice, the lightsaber, and stopped dead. To Naruto it looked as if there was a small dot of blue light from her back, but she had been rammed through with the lightsaber for blue. As the door was knocked in, courtesy of the force, and the young woman, truly a girl still, was buried underneath it, her unlit sword flying to land at Naruto's feet. The boy just stared on in awe and fear at the sight, bending down to retrieve the fallen weapon as if it would do him any good against a trained force wielder. In the hall was a man, cloaked in darkness, his hair hidden by the hood of his Jedi robes, along with much of his face. The only clear sight was that of his black and yellow eyes. As the man slowly walked up to him, Naruto could feel the power of the Kyuubi forced into his body, a little voice in his head telling him to move. As the Sith Lord before him lifted his weapon, Naruto stumbled back, grasping the metallic tube. As the blade descended, it hit nothing but air, as Naruto had fell backwards into the nothingness of the Kyuubi's portal. End flashback. He hadn't even turned the blade on to see the color, but he still kept the weapon nearby in case he had need of it soon. He might have been an emotional wreck right now if the fox hadn't taken him to the land of Spira, a place where he had been able to face the ghost that might have haunted him. Turning his mind back to the task at hand, he took up his next items, 3 scrolls he had kept in his possession. One scroll was gifted to him by the Lady Yuna. That scroll contained the secrets on how to wield a Zanbato as well as 7 of the most powerful techniques known to sword-bearers. The other 2 he had written himself, one on the night he had fought Mizuki. It contained the 3 jutsu he stole from the scroll. The other scroll contained any information the Kyuubi was willing to give him on his bloodlines. He wished the fox would give him everything, but the damn fur coat wanted things to be interesting. He had managed to awaken 2 of the bloodlines with the help of the fox, the first on the night of the Mizuki fight. Naruto was told by the fox it was called the Refiner, and that he would receive a huge boost in stamina, chakra, speed, strength, and all of his other senses, though they would be refined over a course of a few weeks. He would start noticing things after a few days in his own world. The other bloodline took a bit more to pry loose. Ooh, flashy. Naruto looked up at the tower before him. The flying spaghetti monster's noodly appendages. What? Asked the fox, not nearly as distracted as Naruto. Sorry, so where are we? Asked the boy as he adjusted his robes. He still had them from Coruscant. They seemed to be made of a wear-resistant material and were very comfortable. This, my stupid little friend, is Earth, at the base of the Tower of Korine. There were once people who lived at the base of this tower, but they have long since passed away. In fact, there is probably only a couple hundred beings on this planet now, though that is a story for another day when I actually give a damn. Right now all you need to concentrate on is climbing that and getting a sip of Chishinsui. But I want to know a little more, said Naruto, pouting to the demon in his stomach. Truly it was an award-winning pout, one that would leave little girls weak in the knees. Gaki? Asked the 9-tailed demon, a little worried. Yes? I don't give a flying fuck. So start climbing. Fine. Just tell me where the stairs are. To this the fox just started to chuckle, then break into full-out laughter. Hey. What's so funny, Baka Fox? Nothing, reassured the fox, it's just that there are no stairs. What? But I thought you wanted me to climb this thing? He was starting to get a little worried. After what the fox had done to him on Coruscant and Spira, he wouldn't put it past him to make the boy climb on hands and feet alone. Oh, how right he was. You know, Gaki, you said you wanted to be the Kamikage, that you would take any training I suggested, and, after that experiment with free-falling from the falcon, that you could handle anything that I could throw at you. You also made a soul pact that you would listen to my advice. If you disregard what I am telling you, then I may be able to take over your body right now. Now I want you to start climbing and you're going to like it. Naruto hated it when the damn fox spoke. It had an annoying way of getting its way no matter what Naruto wanted. Fine. But I won't like it. Korine was amazed at the boy. Sure, he had started to slow down a bit, but he was still going steady. As Kami over the earth, he could hear the thoughts of all beings on the planet below, and when 2 new ones popped out of nowhere at the base of his tower, he was interested. The boy had a being of great power sealed within his body, one that was on a level equal to the warrior Goku when he arrived on Namek all those years ago. And the boy's hidden potential was nothing to scoff at either, though he suspected he would never be stronger than even half of what Goku was capable of when he first became a Super Saiyan, even with the other's power added to his own. Right now, as he entered the home stretch to the tower's top, the boy was starting to grasp something the other was telling him, on how to stick to objects by filling the part of your body you wanted with chakra, another name for ki perhaps? Reading further into the boy's thoughts, he found dreams, ambitions, fears, and anger. The boy wanted to be a god in the shadows, a ninja perhaps? though the only ninja he had heard of were pretenders that Goku had defeated easily when he was a boy. He was feared by and afraid of his own villagers, yet he wanted the love and attention of them anyways. None of it made sense to his furry old head. Quickly scratching behind his cat ears with his wooden stave, he walked down to greet his first guest in nearly a century. Or would it be, guests, there is a voice in his head after all? As the boy pulled himself up, he seemed to be cursing something, blackmailing, evil, know-it-all foxes from hell. After that he just seemed to be lying there as if he was dead, only the quick sound of breathing and the raising and lowering of his chest saying otherwise. "Congratulations," he said, walking over to the boy. Apparently the boy had been expecting someone up here, or he might have reacted a little differently. Korin was a little disappointed. He was hoping to get a little more reaction. Naruto opened his eyes at the voice. What the? He only got that far because he jumped straight up and bonked his head on the ceiling of the stone temple. That was more like what the biped cat wanted. "Hello there," he asked in his scratchy voice. "I am Korin, Kami over the earth. And you, my friend, are Naruto Uzumaki." As the blonde-haired enigma glared up at the catman, he said scathingly, "Thanks. I didn't know." "Well then, you seem to have a pleasant attitude. I think a nice walk down the side of the tower would do you well." "No, you seem quite interesting. Perhaps you would like to tell me why you have visited me today?" Now Naruto would normally have his usual loud, brash and annoying self. Except the fox didn't quite agree with this idea. "Well fuck, would you mess with God? Would you like to piss off the invisible man in the sky who can smite you with the gunk he pulls out from under his eyes in the morning?" I thought not. Instead he got down on his knees, grumbling all the way, and bowed before the catman. "Kami-sama. I humbly request that you would give me a chance to drink from the true sacred water, Jishinsui." Sure, he was only mimicking words that had been said by the fox as they had climbed the tower, but he felt he pulled them off pretty nicely. Him and the fox had had a lot of bonding time while climbing the tower, and, in that time, since it was the first actual alone time the two had had, the fox demon had told Naruto some of his plan. "No," was the only word he heard. "What?" asked the Uzumaki, a little dazed at having climbed the tower and been denied. "I said, no, you may not yet drink from Jishinsui. I need something from you in order to justify it." "URG," yelled Naruto as he pointed at the cat. "Come on? I climbed all the way up here using just chakra and my own body, but you won't let me drink a little water?" Huffing, he turned his back to the god. "Fine. As long as you ain't now pedophile freak, what you want?" "Nothing much. Just don't call me a pedophile and tell me please about that amazing thing you have sealed inside your body." It was said so nonchalantly that Naruto didn't even miss a beat. "Ha. That stupid fox ain't nothing special. Just a stupid demon that's—" At this point Naruto's eyes were bulging. The Kyuubi-in of his majesty was growling at the boy for his stupidity, and Korin. He just scratched behind his ears with the wooden stave again, purring gently. "What's wrong? Not used to people talking so calmly about it?" Korin couldn't help it. He started reading into the boy's mind again. He was so much more intriguing than the sentient beings on Earth were. In fact, he found the same to be true with what he remembered of Goku and Vegeta's descendants. Perhaps it was just those of power that were like this. Those who knew the workings of power. "Yeah," he said cautiously, "since the only people who talked to me about it were in the middle of a life-or-death battle, one of which was trying to kill me after tricking me into stealing a powerful object. So yeah, no one's been able to talk calmly about the fox." "Well, if you want to drink from Jishinsui, then you need to tell me about it. In return I will let you drink from the water and help you on your way to become Kamikage." The fox boy just stared at him for a few seconds. "And that's when I started to climb. That pretty much covers it. I don't know too much about the fox itself. It hasn't even said a word while we've been talking. It seems a little touchy about its power. I mean, it flipped out on me when I mentioned trying to use its aura. Now that, Naruto, is a very interesting story you tell, one I don't know quite what to make of it. The power of the fox is truly impressive compared to the power of normal humans trained in the ways of ki, what you call chakra. Though I have seen beings with much, much greater, it is still powerful. At this point, if you were to release the full power of the fox alone, directed at the planet itself, it would be destroyed. At the very least your elemental countries would be nothing but a dent in the ground filling with water. But enough of this, it is time. Time for what? Naruto wasn't stupid. He had just gotten so caught up in talking of the fox that he had forgotten why he came here in the first place. Why, time to drink of the sacred waters, Jishinsui. If you don't want it anymore then just tell me and I will send you on your ways. The boy's eyes widened as he remembered why he was to climb the tower in the first place. Right, well, we better get started then. The Kyubi had told me that this would take a little while, though I don't know why. Oh, that? Well, perhaps it is better for you to drink it first and then I shall tell you the secret of the water. In a few minutes the cat god returned with a small tray, a plain teacup and pot sitting on it. Pouring a glass, Corinne spoke. Now you're going to want to drink it all at once or you won't feel the full effects, and if you drink it once then you can never try again. Here, he said, handing Naruto a full cup. Chugging it down swiftly, Naruto put the cup back and his eyes bulged. With two big eye smiles, Kami then gave his blessings. Hopefully you survive. Then Naruto fell down into a fetal position from the massive amounts of pain. Brining up a chair, Corinne sat in watch, a silent vigil through Naruto's long night. As the powerful poison that was Jishinsui flowed through Naruto's veins, the nine-tailed fox prepared his chakra for what he was going to do. The first night Naruto heard of the fox, he was so distraught that the path between the fox demon and Naruto's chakras opened completely, allowing undiluted demonic power to flood into his body, altering his genes in a way. Since it was such a brief burst of power, all it did was turn on one set of chromosomes, the ones that he was genetically predisposed to, the refiner, changing it from a recessive gene to a dominate one. Any less power or amount of time active and Naruto would likely have never awoken the refiner or been able to even talk to the Kyubi. He would have been normal, you could say. The Kyubi knew this, and as such, knew that he could use his chakra to activate and change the kid's other possible bloodlines. The only problem being that he couldn't force his chakra directly into the kid like that, and it would take years of meditation to get Naruto into such an open position again anyways. By then it would be too late. Bloodlines needed the body to be in a state of constant change for bloodlines to become active, thus birth, puberty, or through a third more powerful party. The Kyubi was that party in this case, though he needed a medium to work through. The poison that ran through Naruto's veins was that medium. First thing, let's get a closer look at the refiner. The kid may think I know a lot about it, but I only glimpsed at it that night. Needless to say, he was less than impressed. My god. The kid's crawling out of the shallow end of the genetic pool. Let's see what I can do here. Interesting. Well, he'll be tall, strong, fast, his senses will be beyond anything even I could do. He will run on like the Energizer Bunny, and his chakra will be like a waterfall. I could go farther than this, but I want to work on the others. Let's just add this then, a time frame, otherwise it'll all come on him too fast and he'll die from the strain. Now the Kyubi looked at his other two bloodlines. One was something that was incomplete and would have taken generations before it even became anything. The other, on the other hand, was his father's bloodline, one that seemed to skip a generation or two. Damn, a chakra-based bloodline. These are rare, and none I have ever heard of does this. If my chakra control didn't like shit then I would be able to do something more with this, but as it is should wait to mess around with it. I don't want to cripple the kid. Let's move on. Looking to check on Naruto's body, he found that his chakra, as it always did, just seemed to keep him alive and fight the poison. I don't want the poison to all be destroyed though, or I won't have any medium to work through. The kid will be in a little pain, but I think I should tone down my chakra a little. He'll live through it, he's tougher than I was at that age. Next was the dojutsu. Having been able to use chakra to alter his sight while alive, the fox already knew how to do this pretty well. It seems that mixing the enhanced senses of the refiner with the chakra power of his father's bloodline would have eventually created a bloodline, though it would have taken thousands of years before it would have awoken as anything more useful than a change in color. But with me working behind the scenes it will be great. The great fox started to work his magic now, talking to himself as he worked. I've had great ideas for this thing ever since I read it in his genetics. A dojutsu that is completely malleable to what I wanted to do. Forget the Uchiha, and the Hyuga, and the training of the Jedi, and that damned sage with his ringed eyes. I have this. A dojutsu that will beat them all, without ever being any of them. Silently the fox worked from this point, concentrating on creating an eye that would evolve with the owner. Once again, so as not to open a can of worms by hurting the possessor. When it was done, the fox looked over once more. Beautiful, Looking on at Naruto one more time, he realized that Naruto would awaken soon, his own chakra now fighting against the weakened poison as well. Shit, I haven't even touched the other bloodline. Racing over through Naruto, the fox began to alter the boy's genes, trying in vain to activate the bloodline. God damn it, his body is developing an immunity to me touching his genetics. With me so focused on the eyes, I didn't even notice it. While that portion remained weak to my influence, the others were being strengthened. Flying around like he was possessed. Which is kind of ironic if you think about it. The Biju could feel himself forcefully removed from its container's blood and back behind the seal. Staring out through the boy's eyes, all that was heard was a simple, "Damn, that was close." Killfurby back to the baka. As Naruto awoke, all he could feel was a dull aching from everywhere really. The only thing that actually hurt were his eyes. Looking up, he could see Korin, still looking without expression as he had since meeting the boy. "Well, that's interesting," were his only words, simple and straight to the point as usual. "And what would that be?" he asked as he covered his eyes in his arms, the pain slowly dying away, though too slowly for the blue-eyed shinobi. He felt like he could feel the ground all around him, and it was starting to make him sick. "I think it would be best if you looked for yourself. There's a pot of clean water over there," he said, pointing over to a row of blue stone pots. Lifting off the wooden cover of one of the pots, Naruto peered inside, looking at his own face. It was the exact same face, the same whiskers, the same tanned skin, the same blue and black eyes with triangular iris, and the same. Wait a minute, that ain't right. Yes, now Naruto's eyes were changed to signify his new bloodline limit. The iris remained the same natural blue, except now the iris was in the shape of a triangle. In addition, the whites of his eyes were black as midnight, and the pupil itself was so small it was near impossible to see. Looking at the eye only brought on a further bout of nausea as he felt the ground all around him. Hell, he swore he could even feel the pot he looked in, even Korin, now that he thought about it. "Fox," he said out loud, not caring how crazy he might have sounded to Kami before him. "Fox, what did you do to my eyes? And how do I make it stop, or else I'm going to be sick?" "Nothing much, Gaki, just gave you a bloodline that can trump anything else I have ever seen." You could practically feel the pride in his voice. It was the same feeling as when he talked of his own powers. "So what's it to then?" he asked, trying to get used to the feeling he was having. "Well, imagine being able to feel the entire world around you, every person, every building, every single stone. What I've given you is the ability to feel everything around you, just like you were actually touching it. At this point, it will be like you're holding something that had a thick layer of silly putty around it, vague blobs than actual shapes, but that will change as the eye grows. The more it grows, the clearer everything will be. Just don't think it will all be easy though. I made this eye so you will have to train your ass off for it to even be used practically. If you are not aware of what you are feeling, or what you're supposed to be feeling, then the eyes will be useless to you. Also, and this is very important, you do not see things, you are feeling them. As such, you can't tell your friends from your enemies, for the moment. As things become clearer for you, you will start to recognize people's shapes and sizes, and hopefully, though this may be hard for you, follow where they are by sense alone. This is all I will tell you for now. I want you to figure out the rest by yourself." Naruto was simply dumbfounded by what he was told. Suddenly he realized he could feel everything. Looking at Korin, who was once again scratching himself, he realized that he could feel the general size of Korin and that there was something there, but that was it. The only abnormality was the fact that his stave was taller than he was and almost felt like a chimney off of the god. Woot. Flashback, Billy NNOO, would you look at that? Ain't that purty? END. Naruto hadn't been able to come up with a name for the bloodline yet, but he felt like he was on a major breakthrough with his next level. Moving on, he picked up a giant four-pointed shuriken, a yellow crystalline orb sitting in the very center, and looked over the other two objects near it. The first was a giant sword, which took up most of the room on the bed, two green orbs set into it near the base. The second was an arm protector that had been specially designed for him, glittering with several purple orbs, two yellow ones and a single green one. They had all been gifted to him from the only other ninja he had met while planet jumping. Flash bang back boom. "Now Naruto, are you sure you wouldn't like to stay here and train with me? Truly, I think you could reach your full potential if you followed my regimen," asked Korin as he walked Naruto to the side of his tower. No, he began, the fox says that there are other places we need to go. More training I need to begin before I can start to specialize. Very well, but at least let me give you a Kinto cloud to help on your journey. If you are Ewer of Heart, it should let you fly on it and take you wherever you request of it. I am sorry Kami-sama, but the fox Teme says that I won't need to fly to get where I am going. What? No, I am not jumping off again. Fine, fine, just shut your trap. Sorry Kami-sama, but the fox says we need to leave now. Waving goodbye to the catman, Naruto simply jumped off the side of the large construct. Feeling the air rush around him, he let himself relax so the fox could start to use its chakra and open a portal to another world. That was the requirement for the fox to be able to use chakra. Naruto had to be relaxed. Sure, it couldn't affect his body in any way, since there was no direct link, but the fox knew some things like this: how to make a portal. Feeling the fox's chakras slowly enter his body, he noticed that it was moving a little slower than usual. Fox, you should really hurry up. If you don't make the portal soon, I might touch down. I know, and that would be bad. I know, and would really hurt. I know, and we would die awful terrible deaths as soon as we hit the ground, likely splattering against earth, sending limbs and my insides all across the countryside in a flood of red blood. Don't try and tempt me. Your body has started to build a resistance to my chakra, so it's slow work. Hell, I spent so much time on the dojutsu for you that I couldn't even properly activate your father's bloodline. The best I could do was to make it so you might activate it naturally. What? I went through all of that pain and you didn't even activate both bloodlines? Well, what the hell am I? Prepare for impact. With a start, Naruto looked down to see a strange red cloud right below him, the portal. Hitting it didn't hurt. It was the sudden loss of motion, the effects of inertia, and his neck being flung back violently that hurt. Gritting his teeth, he made himself remember to thank the fox for slowing him down before transporting them. Slowly they began to sink through the cloud until Naruto could see the planet below, a city made with traditional Japanese buildings and red singled roofs. Off to the side was a mountain that looked even more majestic than the Hokage's monument, with whole bodies carved into the stone as it followed several winding paths. Now, Naruto could see all of this, because he was sticking out of a cloud, and where do clouds reside? In the sky. Very good. Well, he had experienced inertia today, time to face gravity and see if he could stand up to its test. He didn't yell as he plummeted down, near the base of the mountain, since he had fallen from higher heights in Coruscant. All he did was hope that he hit a low-lying trail. As the mountain beside him sped by, he saw the trail he hoped he would hit, just as he flew past it. As he did though, he saw someone jump to him. With his eyes still active, he felt as something small came flying towards him, though what it was he didn't know. Now he felt a rope tighten around his body and his descent suddenly slowed down. Swinging inwards, he hit the side of the mountain with a thud and was slowly dragged upwards. Reaching the top, he was thrown to the ground. The ropes that bound him were loosened and he heard the concerned voice of a female. Are you all right? You must have fallen from one of the trails to have been going that fast? Yeah, thank you, though I would have been fine after a while. He responded while rubbing where his arms had been tired by the rope and where his shoulder hit the mountain. Looking up, he saw her, a beautiful creature. She wore strange footwear, sneakers, and long socks. Her shorts, which lived up to their name, were a light tan khaki material. She wore a tight green shirt which showed off her maturing-ness in a way that was very pleasant to the eyes. She had a headband around her short cropped black hair, with a few eagle feathers sticking out of the back, and had a tan white arm protector on her left, while the other simply had a striped green arm warmer, and was holding a giant four-pronged shuriken. On her back was a second one, a much nicer one. She had several pouches around her waist and Naruto already knew what they were for. I am Naruto Uzumaki. Are you a shinobi? Getting a sly grin on her face, she just did a couple of eye smiles. Yup. The name's Yuffie Kasaragi. For some reason Naruto couldn't help but blush. End of the backflash. He remembered the time he spent with her in Wutai fondly. It was a time he could live among shinobi peacefully, practicing wushi with Yuffie's students on the outskirts of the city and at the beaches. Naruto also knew that he had fallen in love with the black-haired kunoichi. They would often walk the streets together late at night, and eventually Naruto was introduced to Cloud Strife, a mercenary for hire that Yuffie was close friends with, and Vincent, the man who had designed the arm protector for him. He had, during one of their walks, told her about his scrolls, which she was quite interested in. Of the techniques he had there, she had labeled the Rasengan as the only real ninja technique, since it was the only one that could be stealthy, deadly, and quick to execute when needed. The summoning was largely impractical, though if used could destroy a whole island such as Wutai without the need of an army. As for balefire, she just thought of the implications and shuddered. When he mentioned to her about his scroll full of sword techniques, she simply told him, one of those sly grins on her face, that he should have someone how to use a sword. He didn't just sit idly and let the days pass him by though, he was training like a man possessed. He began to work on the stages of the Rasengan under the tutelage of the fox and some help from Yuffie, who gave him one of her preferred shuriken, with a quite useful stone known as the /all material, in the center. According to her, all he had to do was channel some chakra into the stone and the shuriken would fly true and fast towards all the enemies in his sight, and since it was mastered it wouldn't be stopped by anything. He didn't know what that meant, mastered. He most certainly wasn't a master at anything to do with the large shuriken, but she said that the sparkling inside the orb meant it had been mastered. She had originally given him the shuriken so he could practice the first part of the Rasengan, to give your chakra spin. To do this, the Yondaime wrote to first practice making your chakra spin horizontally, then at different angles. Naruto had gotten this part easy by using the shuriken. And by placing chakra in his hand at the same time, he managed to make the giant shuriken even more deadly, since it would spin like crazy, but wouldn't leave his hand until he sent it flying. They had experimented with so much that they were almost sad to move on to the second part of the spin stage. For this, Naruto's task was to burst a balloon, as suggested in the scroll. Since he had so much practice with spinning his chakra from the shuriken, he was able to complete this step in a single night. At the end of the night, Naruto went to give the 15-year-old girl her weapon back and she simply refused, saying she wanted him to have it. Then, taking out a single yellow orb, she placed it right in the center, telling him all about the new /all shuriken. The second step had required him to add power to the spin, which, to his surprise, was quite easy compared to how it was described in the scroll. It had told him to use a solid rubber ball and add spin to it in the same manner as the balloon until it too exploded. But when he did, he found that the ball was quite easily destroyed. So he moved on to something harder, feeling that he needed to challenge himself. Now using a well-shaped rock was much more difficult, something that he had had to work on until he left the island and world altogether. He had also been trained extensively in the art of the sword by the man Cloud. Since the scroll Naruto had was for how to use a Zanbato, Cloud felt that he was better off teaching Naruto the basics. For sword fighting in general and making sure the boy could handle the weight of one before he let him start training with his prized weapon, the Buster Sword. At the end of a month in the mountains with Cloud, he had managed to win away the man's sword and his choice of any two materia he wanted to go with it. Then there was his bloodline, which had been aptly named the Obogan. Yuffie had really been rooting for something a little cooler, but Naruto didn't want to just call it the Dojutsu any longer. The Obogan had, ironically, been best trained in Yuffie's Wushi classes. Since there was so much movement in the classes, which simply taught the forms of martial arts, not the practical fighting, Naruto was often tested on keeping track of many people and objects. The latter was especially true in the advanced classes taught by Yuffie's father, where he had them using real weapons and made them add all sorts of jumps and crazy moves to make sure they were flexible enough to advance on the practical fighting with the other full shinobi in Wutai, of which Naruto had met none. Needless to say, he had progressed, though he had made himself not look in a mirror to see how far he was, personally test if you would. Finally the day came when Naruto was to leave. The Kyuubi had told him the night before, when he had mastered the second stage of the Rasengan. That night Naruto had received two gifts, both of which he would hold close to his heart until the day he died. The first was the arm brace designed by the red-clothed Vincent, a masterful man, who had made the gauntlet to absorb 4 different elements, and outfitted it with 6 different material that Yuffie had hand-selected. The second, while less practical for an aspiring shinobi like himself, was much better of a present to him. A quiet and heart-filled kiss from the young girl, 4 years his elder. That night he held her close to him while they lay on top of Mount Wutai. The next morning Naruto took leave of this world like he did any other, by falling or jumping. Strangely, it wasn't a jump that sent him over this time, as he waited for the Kyuubi to tell him the portal was ready. not quite trusting the mountain to be tall enough after his little problem leaving Korin's tower an age ago. No, it was a push, or, to be more precise, a glomp. Flashback no justu, hey look. It's Gizmo, looks thirsty, someone get him some water. Standing there on the brown rock of Mount Wutai, Naruto looked down at the sprawling shinobi city below. As he felt the Kyuubi prepare the chakra necessary for the interplanetary portal. Closing his eyes, he activated the Obogan, not daring to look behind him and lose the resolve to actually leave. These 3 months here had been paradise to Naruto, but he knew he couldn't stay here. He had a home, no matter how strange it might seem to others, in the Hidden Leaf. He had dreams, ambitions and obligations in Konoha as a shinobi, something that he could never achieve here. As he felt for the girl, he could feel her sadness, and a touch of anger right next to it, not hidden by it like some emotions could be. That had been one of the new abilities he had managed to unlock from the Obogan, the power to feel emotions. Right in the center of all her emotion, though, was something Naruto could only describe as commitment. The girl herself was blurry, like she was covered in a thick layer of clay. He could tell that there was a human there, though gender itself seemed to slip past him, let alone who it actually was. Most people felt like this to Naruto's dojutsu now, not just letting him know there was something there but telling him it was humanoid or not. He couldn't quite feel what they did either, only that a person was doing something at all. He knew though, that she was crying. He didn't need any bloodline to tell him that. He was crying too though, so it was almost expected on the young girl. "It's ready, kid," spoke the kitsune, even it was feeling a little saddened, but knew that Naruto couldn't stay here. Testing Naruto's resolve, he asked, "You know, we could stay here if you want. You would never grow old and you could train forever undisturbed by the meandering villagers or by shinobi life in general." "No, I must leave," he said out loud, to answer the fox, convince himself, and let Yuffie know it was time. "I have an obligation to my village as shinobi, and no matter what the villagers have done to me, I have an obligation to go back there and prove them wrong about me." He heard a little sob from Yuffie, who had been appalled by the treatment he had received from his own people. "I have to go, otherwise." He began to turn and looked at Yuffie with his eyes now open, the Obogan active, a small sad smile playing with the tears on his face. "How will I become the Kamikage and create the village of Wutai where I would rule from?" That had been something they had joked about when he told her his dream, that he would build a village named Wutai in remembrance for her and would rule the world from there as its benevolent shinobi god. Staring into his blue eyes, a sly smile came onto her face. "Well," she said, her voice straining from all the crying, "I guess I'll have to make sure you keep your promise then." Naruto didn't know what he felt first, her sadness and anger disappearing to be replaced by that feeling of commitment in whole, or her jumping on top of him, sending both of them over the edge of the mountain where they had been standing. Rocks and earth and faces carved in the mountainside sped past them as they hit the red mist that appeared out of nowhere and was soon replaced by the messy room where Naruto's journey had begun, 10 seconds earlier. Landing with a thud, Naruto could feel his sword and shuriken fighting with his kunai to see what would stab him first. But that didn't matter, as right now all he could concentrate on was the feel of her warm body in his arms and her wet lips against his. Unlocking their lips, the two looked into each other's eyes until Yuffie finally buried her head into his chest and fell asleep. Ending no jutsu. "Ah, isn't that cute? But it's wrong." Done looking over his equipment, he began to change into a spare set of robes he had made in Wutai, in the same style of the Jedi. His underclothing was complete black pants and a black kimono top. That was very flexible and easy to fight in, just like the Jedi he had seen in Coruscant wearing, with matching black boots. Here he tucked his lightsaber at his belt and placed 2 of his ninja pouches, one carrying his alloy kunai and shuriken, the other had his 3 scrolls which had needed to carry on his person until he had a safe place to hold them. Then he produced the silvery arm protector that Yuffie had made for him, and placed it on his left forearm. Next he brought out his traditional brown over-robe. These would be able to hold more equipment, conceal his true identity if he pulled up his hood, and could make hitting him harder with the way the cloak billowed when he moved. Over top of that he strapped on the Buster Blade over his left shoulder, one of the 2 orbs sparkling with a mysterious glint that proclaimed it mastered. Then he put on the Slash All Shuriken, which went on near his right shoulder. Lastly he placed his Hite 8 around his forehead in the traditional fashion. Sure, Adding more weight to the outer cloak could be a liability, but for the moment the risks were outweighed by the benefits. If he ever needed to remove the cloak, he could simply draw his sword and throw the shuriken as a distraction while he removed its added weight. Taking some standard kunai and shuriken, he placed them inside his robe's pockets for use if he needed it. Walking out the door, after kissing a sleeping kunoichi goodbye, Naruto prepared for a whole new adventure. Taking the first step down from his house was pretty interesting for him. It just seemed to remind him of his first time leaving his world for another. FFFFFLLLLLASHSHSHSSH back. Now remember what I said, came the voice of the Kyuubi no Kitsune, as Naruto stood in his home, just having learned of the fox, his possible bloodlines, and what he would be training in other worlds. I need control over your chakra for a minute. Just relax and let go. Good, next stop Coruscant. And with that, nothing seemed to change. Hearing a sizzling sound from his feet, the Uzumaki looked down. Now he saw the portal, because where his hardwood floor should have been was burned away by the Kyuubi's demonic chakra. Below him, though, was not the earth as he would have expected, but a city made entirely out of metal and glass. Wow, it almost looks like I would fall right through. Gaki? Yeah? That is the portal, it is real. Oh, okay, so since I'm standing on it, I swear, one of your brain cells just turned to the other one and simply told him, it is dark in here, and we may die. And with that Naruto fell to the city below. Sure, he screamed as he fell, but hell, it was still quite a view. In the permanent sunset of the city, the gases in the atmosphere made the most beautiful sky that had ever been seen, full of oranges and reds and pinks and yellows of all shades. Between the reflective black glass of the tall buildings, Naruto could see a temple of sorts, with 4 tall wild towers surrounding a single dome of gold, so beautiful in the setting sun that he stopped screaming just in time to hit the durasteel plating of the landing bay outside the home of Senator Skywalker Amidala. Flashback and, those were some good times. Looking at the sun as it was cracking over the horizon, he threw up his hood and began to walk towards the academy. It was strange walking around the village, with no able to recognize the boy in his now tame clothing. Sure, he missed the orange jumpsuit, I mean who wouldn't, but he liked this feeling he got. It was almost like being accepted. It was also strange having his obogan activated as he walked through the dense population of Konoha. He could feel every single one of them, big ones, small ones, angry ones and happy ones. He could feel killing intent at times when there were raised voices, though never directed at himself. He could also feel people climbing around on the lower roofs and even the sides of some buildings. Naruto knew that they must be ninja, though he could never see any of them. Perhaps it's the Anbu I'm feeling. That would explain why I can't find them with my own 2 eyes. Soon the Uzumaki of Konoha arrived at the building he was looking for, a 5-story building that held every class of shinobi that came to Konoha, along with rooms to hold the Chunin and Junin exams. On top of the academy was a greenhouse that held all of the plants used for the kunoichi's courses and a little garden where students could relax, spend time together, or eat their lunches. Entering the building, Naruto quickly went to the room where he had spent the past year trying to become a shinobi of the leaf. Only a few of the students were there yet, and the only ones that seemed to stand out were Shikamaru Nara and Shino Aburame, who were currently playing a game of shugi. Shino was a quiet one, to say the least. He always wore a white-green coat that he kept closed tight, and had a pair of scythes that knew how to use in his coat sleeves, though how they stayed there was a mystery. He fell right in the middle of the class, dead center too. The only time his position ever changed was when some of the fangirls decided to make fun of him and taunt him, and brag about how good Sasuke was. So, without saying a word to them, Shino let his grades raise up, first academics, then physical, alternating the two periodically. To the teachers it was quite funny, that though everyone thought Sasuke better, Shino had such complete control over his mind and body to manipulate his grades that the Uchiha never had, frustrating because he was a student that refused to give his all, and simply amazing that the boy seemed quite content to do this for revenge when the students in the class were quite ignorant to what he could do. Perhaps Shino just thought it was funny. Shino seemed like the kinda guy that liked to laugh. The other, Shikamaru, was a rugged-looking child, with his hair up in a pineapple style. He carried many weapons with him, with some on his chest, 2 holsters on his hip. One left, one right, and one on either leg. The boy wore a fishnet shirt under a thin jacket and a set of tan pants that led down to his ninja sandals. If there was anyone smarter than Shikamaru, then Naruto didn't know them. The boy could tell you the most obscure facts and histories without blinking an eye. Yet try and pry information out of him, like Naruto had one time, and you would be telling him your life story without even knowing it. Sitting down at the top of the room, in the center of one of the desks, he waited for the rest to arrive. Soon after himself came Choji Akamichi, who went and sat with the Nara. He was a giant of a boy, who nearly stood 2 feet taller than Naruto and, though it was mostly hidden by a layer of fat, was very muscular. In the style of his father, Choji was also letting his red hair grow long, so he could one day use it as a weapon with jutsu his family had in their possession, and had on a set of reddish-purple armor with the family creed of "Eat" on the front and back. Next was the Don himself. Sasuke Uchiha. Naruto just grinned a little seeing the withering glares exchanged between the Uchiha and Akamichi, with Shikamaru's eyes thinning a little in distastes. Sasuke was dressed in white khaki shorts and a blue long-sleeve shirt that had a high collar and the Uchiha's white and red fan on the back. He carried no weapon and had no armor, but that said nothing of the skill of the boy, or how dangerous he could be. The boy was ruthless in his spars and had managed to have at least 3 kids drop out of the shinobi program because of him. Sasuke Simpki walked up and sat next to the Inuzuka kid in the row below Naruto, though not because they were friends. Perhaps his smell will keep some of the fangirls away. He works nearly as good as the Dobi at that. Soon after the glaring match between the two, another duo entered. Ino Yamanaka, clad in a purple plate that loosened into chain mesh near the shoulders for freedom and a lightly plaited short skirt combo, and had her hair done up into a long ponytail. The second was Sakura Haruno with her close-cut hair, dressed in a black and red plate similar to Ino's, save that it extended to cover her down to the middle of her stomach. Below that was a simple pair tight red pants that matched the top well. At Ino's shoulder one could see she carried a bakken, while all that looked could see a real sword resting on Sakura's back, sticking out horizontally at her waist, a pink and red ninja too. They were 2 girls that any man would die to be with, something that the pair knew, and used to their advantage. Even older gentlemen seemed to fall for them when they pulled out all the stops. Walking up to where Sasuke and Kiba were sitting now, they proceeded to kick the Inuzuka out of his seat and sit on either side of Sasuke, flirting in such a manner that would be expected of women twice their age. Looking around, Naruto noticed that the seats were almost all full, with only one seat next to him open in the whole room, Kiba having taken the other one next to him. Looking to see who was missing, he let out a curse. Please, not her. Too late, she entered the room and began to walk towards the open seat, probably having seen it before even entering the building. Yes, the one and only Hinata Hyuga, heiress to the Hyuga clan of Konoha, and generally known to the class as the bitch. Something she found hilarious. As he felt her eyes on him, or rather that of the Byakugan, he saw her release a little smile. He had liked the class not knowing who he was too. Oh well, easy come easy go. Actually he had to through hell to get the class not to recognize him, damn. He quickly deactivated his obogan, silently hoping the girl didn't notice his eyes. Hinata Hyuga was infamous in Konoha. She had made her first kill when most students had still been simply playing with the idea of becoming shinobi. She had been very confident and very strong ever since she was 6 years old, and the world had started to notice her, what with the Kumo incident and all. But in the past 2 years she had also become angry, claiming that Konoha shinobis were too weak. She, strange as it might sound, did not place herself above others because of her blood, but because she was simply better. She had, for reasons unknown to anyone but herself, trained like no one else Konoha had ever seen. She had become strong because she would not give up. Her bloodline only made her stronger. She had been a nightmare for Naruto. Ever since he entered the class he had had an instant enemy in the kunoichi in training, even though he had never done anything to deserve it. She would put him down and humiliate him for no apparent reason. When they ended up sparring in class she would use her juken to beat him down mercilessly, even being thrown out of the academy for a month for refusing to stop a fight with him when the teacher commanded it. To be fair, she was like that to everybody to some extent, even Sasuke, and was currently the Rookie of the Year, with Sasuke Uchiha just trailing her. When she arrived on the landing that Naruto and Kib were sitting at, she first towards Kiba, "Send your little pet away. I really don't want any tick marks from an animal. Hey, Akamaru does not have fleas. Besides, you know I wouldn't send him away for any reason," yelled the angry dog boy. "I know he doesn't have fleas. That's why I told him to send you away. He is more than welcome to stay. Perhaps he might even be able to provide a bit of intelligent conversation that seems to be beyond your capacity. Now Akamaru dear, can you please tell your little pet to go back home and wait for you?" Letting out a low growl, Kiba stood up and went to lean against the back wall of the class. Akamaru just growled at the girl as he was carried away, giving her an evil eye the whole time. Now that she had him all to herself, she turned to Naruto and just gave him a long measuring look. He looked at her too, trying not to let his eyes pause too long on certain parts. First there was her hair, a dark blue, nearly black, which went behind her head freely, yet seemed to be made of the finest silk. Next was her obvious white eyes of the Byakugan, veins bulging out signifying that it was active, though they were not as prominent as they might have been, save she had managed to achieve a state of partial activation that would let her leave it active nearly indefinitely, barely even touching on her reserves yet still letting her see anything around her save for chakra and the chakra points. She wore a black sleeveless shirt over a fishnet bra that went up a little higher than the shirt itself and a light purple long-sleeved minicoat. On her lower body she had a black miniskirt that seemed to cover nothing and everything at once and a bit of binding around her right leg. The girl finished her outfit with her hite 8 tied around her neck like a choker and a single ninja pouch directly behind her. Inspired by and mostly taken directly from a pic on DeviantArt Hinata Waiting at Midnight by Rami. Well, what do we have here? In a silent mocking voice, I almost can't believe my eyes. You actually look presentable as a shinobi. You seem like you take on the world right now and actually stand on your own 2 feet. Now her voice raised and she said scathingly so the rest of the class could hear her, and, as usual for the wretched ingrates that will now insist on telling themselves and others that they are shinobi, they failed to see what is right in front of their eyes. A person, heavily armed and furtively dressed, with no palpable hite 8, entering and sitting down in a class where he or she had never been seen before and had no business being in. Congratulations Uzumaki-san, you are officially the 3rd smartest being in the room right behind myself and Akamaru. This managed to get a glare from almost everyone in the room, save Akamaru, was now happy at the compliment, and Shino, who had simply decided not to do anything about the boy, who his bugs had recognized since he had managed to clothe himself in proper shinobi wear and hold himself properly under the weight of the sword he carried, something no one else in the room without an active dujutsu would have noticed save Hinata herself. Not all the glares were for Hinata either, who seemed to simply grow an even bigger smile when the glares intensified. Sakura and Ino in particular seemed to have a problem with Naruto, or more importantly with his choice of weapon. "And what, might I ask, are you doing with that?" said the pink-haired Kunoichi as she pointed at the Zanbato over his left shoulder. "I didn't believe even you would have the audacity to walk into this room with a sword strapped to your back. I have trained for 5 years in order to finally receive my sword," which she seemed to pat fondly, "and you just walk in here one day, never even held a sword I'm sure, and think I could let you insult me as such." Ino herself seemed a little disconcerted when Sakura mentioned her own sword, but still held her gaze on the boy as such. Yes, said Hinata, now sounding like a dainty little Alice in Wonderland girl, perhaps a little upset that Naruto had stolen some of the glares from the room. What an insult it is too. I mean, bringing a weapon into his class and not telling you that he knows how to use it. How dare he? And to this she turned to Naruto and slapped him, letting her nails dig into his cheek, drawing but the tiniest bit of blood. I think that for such a crime obvious death is the only fitting punishment. Oh Sasuke, we need you to brood in the direction of the evil, vile Naruto here. It's the only form of capital punishment cruel enough for such an atrocious crime. To this Naruto let out a little snort, and like magic all glares were on the girl again. Placing their hands on their respective weapons, both of the Kenjutsu-wielding Kunoichi prepared for an all-out offensive, while Hinata relaxed into a simple Juken stance, before letting it go and sitting in her seat. The 2 other girls both a little glad a fight hadn't broken out and confused on why the Rookie of the Year backed down. Ladies, would you mind not drawing your weapons on your fellow shinobi, Kiba? Please sit down next to Naruto. And would you please stop picking your nose, Mickey? Ah, the good old Iruka style, put them down and put them down quickly. Looking over the next generation of shinobi, he made sure to get a good look at all the students he knew would go on to be the future Genin, Chunin, and most likely Junin. Giving a quick speech, he brought out the list of Genin teams. Most were just for the fact that they would be on a team and failed together in one clump rather than send a promising student away, but the last 3 teams were the real deal. Team 7, Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Haruno, and Beer Tiddly Beer. In the Hokage's office 20 minutes ago, the Junin watched through a projector jutsu, used on the Hokage's crystal ball, as Genin started to enter the classroom. First came Shikamaru, then Shino not 10 seconds later, quietly setting up a game of shugi for the two to play. There were some murmured comments on the Nara air and some asked Iruka if it was true that Shino had been able to manipulate his own grades. In the back 3 particular shinobi watched, knowing they would be the ones to take on the 3 real teams. Kurenai seemed quite interested in the conversations revolving around Naruto, but decided to question the Hitaki first. "Why are you reading that?" she asked, looking at the orange book with disdain. "I mean, it's not like anything in there is going to help you with your students." "Have you seen my students?" A Konoha medical certified insane Uchiha, a love-struck kunoichi who wields a sword she learned how to use from Ume of the Death Blossom. And then that last kid, yeah, I think this book will be perfect. Taking a drag on his cigarette, Asuma decided to add his 2 cents to the conversation. "Oh, I don't think that she means the book won't be useful, but that it might be a little much." "Thank you, Asuma. I mean, really? It may have been written by one of the Sannin, but that don't mean it will be useful for little genin like these. I suppose." And with that the masked Junin put his book away, hoping to read a little more before he went off to the classroom. "Let's get a good look at the rest of the kids. Who's the robed one? I don't think I've ever seen him before." Iruka looked a little confused at the boy before noticing a birthmark on his cheek. That would be Naruto Uzumaki. He said, a little dumbfounded, though when I saw him last night he hadn't been dressed like that. I have never known him to use any of those weapons either. He was a little worried that Naruto might have stolen the objects from the village, though he did not see the bracer, or else he might have sent a Anbu to arrest the boy right away. Instead he settled for one of the Anbu in the room to ask around town about stolen weapons, jewels, and clothing. If there had been nothing stolen that matched them, then the boy must have found them or already owned them and told no one. "A sword that big takes real skill to use," stated one of the Junin in the room. "Those weapons look way too expensive for a no clan named Genin to own." "Hush up, here comes the Uchiha. His clan might have had the honor of dogs, but he'll be the strongest of us all. I wonder if he'll be able to reproduce the Uchiha clan for us with an attitude like his." "The Yuri twins are here now too." "Shut up, Yaku, you perv. You just sicken me, you pedophile." "Well, they really shouldn't act like that. It isn't becoming of kunoichi, but they have the skills to be great." "Oh shit. Ha, he's screwed." Hinata, the bitch, Hyuga makes her entrance. "Run, Naruto, run." This last one was actually Iruka, who had seen how she usually treated the boy. Apparently she decided to spare him today his usual punishment, as she called it for some reason, because he actually looked like he belonged in that class for the first time. Soon it was time for Iruka to start giving his speech, while the shinobi began to think of reasons to fail this batch of powered-up civilians, for that's all most of them were, civilians that knew how to use chakra and were in good shape, and the 3 senseis prepared their students' tests. Picking up his book again, Kakashi started reading, and Kurenai Simple muttered to herself as she left, "Advanced Psychoanalysis for the Mentally Incurable by Tsunade, for a bunch of genin. He's hopeless." That's all for now. If you enjoy, then please like, share and do comments.